Hello everyone, in this video we are going to discuss a little bit about the parotid salivary gland. And as you know, we have three pairs of major salivary glands: the parotid gland, the submandibular glands, and the sublingual glands. And apart from this, we have a large number of minor salivary glands. The minor salivary glands are embedded in the mucosa of the oral cavity. It is inside the mucosa of the lips, within the mucosa of the cheeks, within the mucosa of the floor of the mouth, within the mucosa of the sublingual region, within the mucosa of the hard palate and the soft palate. So, of the major salivary glands, the parotid gland is the largest. And you would have seen the parotid gland in the dissection of the face, occupying this region below and in front of the ear and behind the ramus of the mandible. So you see, when we want to study the parotid gland as a viscous, we have to remove the parotid gland and prepare a specimen. Now when we try to remove the parotid gland to prepare a specimen, it does not come off very easily because it is fixed from outside by the stiff parotidomasseteric fascia, and because it is a rather soft gland, it insinuates itself to the different spaces and cavities that it gets on the deeper aspect of the gland. So it is not very simple to remove the whole gland just to prepare a nice specimen. In fact, the parotid gland is in the depression between the ramus of the mandible, the mastoid process behind, the external auditory meatus above and below the posterior belly of the digastric muscle and the stylohyoid, and deeper the styloid process and its attachments together called the styloid apparatus. As you can see, it is somewhat pyramidal with the apex pointing below and the base below the ear. And this is then the outline of the parotid gland. If you remove the parotid gland and you look at the hollow beneath, then you will understand what we mean by the parotid mold. You see, here we have removed the parotid gland, and this is the outline of the parotid gland in orange, the gland and its duct. And you can make out that here is the ramus of the mandible, here is the masseter attached over the ramus of the mandible, and over here is the temporomandibular joint. And because this is the pinna, somewhere here is the external auditory meatus bounded below by the tympanic plate. So this depression on the basal side or the base of the parotid, if this pointed side, this end is the apex, then this is the base. And over here this depression is formed by the tympanic plate of the temporal bone, and just as you have this the ramus of the mandible indenting the parotid gland from in front, similarly from behind you have the mastoid process trying to indent the parotid gland along with this powerful sternocleidomastoid from behind. So the parotid is compressed from front by the mandible and the masseter on its outer surface and the medial pterygoid on its inner surface. From behind it is compressed by the mastoid with the sternocleidomastoid on its outer surface and the posterior belly of the digastric on its inner surface. From above it is compressed by the tympanic plate of the temporal bone. From the deeper side it is being compressed by this styloid apparatus. So it is actually insinuating itself into the gaps formed by these structures, and only when you remove all the bits of the parotid gland, then you can take a good look at this depression, this gap over here, this parotid mold or parotid bed as we call it. Now, after going through this initial brief description of the parotid gland, we are now in a position to look at its detailed relations. Thank you.